So my pro tip is build a template training plan and use that as your skeleton. So a lot of the time we've got athletes that fit into different categories. And I've done like base phase running plans for all athletes, kind of, your 3 to 4 days, 4 to 5 days, 5+ days a week. You can throw that down there and then you can move it. A lot of people aren't necessarily just training in the weekend and working 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. So you can move it around and then you can look, but it's going to save yourself time if you've made one in the past. No specifics for the individual, just make a template, throw it down, and then you can at least see what that looks like in terms of this athlete. Start to overlay the specifics on top of that. All right, Matt. So these are my 5 rules for a skeleton training plan. So like I said, you're just throwing sessions down, drag and dropping, using a template, whatever you're doing. But these are some of the rules I always put in place for the majority of athletes that I work with. So we want one day off. Okay. We don't want to have more than 2 high-intensity sessions in a row or 2 long sessions back to back. And then Monday's not a new day. It's not a new week for your body. If you went hard, you went big on Sunday, it doesn't mean that Monday's now 0, as it often looks on a lot of these like analytical softwares. And also, like, we want to limit the amount of high intensity sessions we do each week. That can be hard. It can be really hard with triathletes. I understand that, but if we work on that 80-20 principle previously discussed, like, we can start to get an idea of overall what that kind of 80-20 or intensity outlay looks like for each zone. Would you want to add any, Matt, like any rules, or is that something like you would encompass with your athletes as well?
Yeah, I think my rules would probably look a little bit different, and especially depending on when we're training and what we're training for. We usually have one day off per week. Sometimes we have more than 2 high intensity days in a row, not often, and it also depends on how intense they were. And with cycling, like, a lot of times we have lots of 90-minute days in a row, but if someone doesn't have a lot of time, and they don't have a long training history, that's definitely not something we're going to do. But it's definitely easier to get in 90+ minutes of cycling than it is to get 90 minutes of running in. And I totally agree that the Monday isn't a new week for your body. The problem is that so many of our schedules are on 7-day cycles. So Monday is always a new week for our lives, and training needs to fit around our lives. So I like your idea of the 10-day template, and then we just need to make sure that we're not treating Monday as a totally new restart for our body, that we need to continuously train and recover as we're going through our plan.
I say these are 5 rules for a skeleton plan because, like you say, there's going to be a situation where, if you have a look in the video resources of Matt and I putting a plan together, it's going to be back to back, but they also may only train 2 out of the 5 days, Monday to Friday, and those are the days they have available. But as the rules for a skeleton plan is, you don't want to do that straight off the bat. You don't want to be going in, because you may then start to overlay, if they are 6-day-a-week trainer, now you've got more room to work with in terms of where you put those high intensity sessions, recovery days, recovery sessions, easy, aerobic, long. So that's like, those are the 5 rules of just putting the plan in place. If you do that, you're going to start pretty well, and then you can look more at the specifics. But I guess that's where it starts to build that art and science, right? Because the science says don't do that. Like, don't do back-to-back high-intensity days if you can avoid it, because then you're going to be able to adapt faster, you're going to be able to fresher, you're going to be able to complete the session more appropriately. But then, when an athlete doesn't have that time available, you can't incorporate that.
Yeah, like if you took your skeleton plan that you start with an athlete, and you just take this blanket statement and say everyone's always going to have 2 hard days in a row, and we're always going to have 2 long days in a row, I think we would start to get in trouble, right? So if we have that skeleton plan and it's more of a basic approach, if we have a more advanced athlete that's doing these kind of things, then we can add those in as we need to. But if we have everyone doing highly advanced training techniques or training strategies, that'd be a big problem. So there's